Go ahead, the floor is yours.
Thank you. First off, in future, if you need any audio expertise, I'm happy to try to help out. But the reason that I'm raising my hand tonight is because I just wanted to ask a question. I have this year adopted a new dog into our family. So we have been using the dog park on a regular basis. And I'm just curious, as a heavy user now of this dog park and thinking about how I'm using it and observing others, I'm curious about who I would interact with at the city in regards to suggestions or thoughts about what's happening at the park, things of that nature, not about violations or any significant concern like that. I just think there might be some ways that we can improve the experience for our residents, as well as I see a lot of people coming from out of the municipality into our municipality because of the size and what the park currently provides. But I think there's some improvements that can be made.
Thank you, Marcus. Brad, that's under EJRP, I believe.
Yeah, Marcus, it'd be me or Harlan really, but you can reach out to either one of us.
Thank you. I'll reach out. Appreciate it.
Great.
Thank you, Marcus. Anybody else on Zoom land? If there are things that you'd like to bring up to the board that are not on the agenda, please go ahead and raise your hand. So not seeing any other hands up, we'll go off of Zoom land. Is there anybody here in person who'd like to talk about something that's not on the agenda? Okay. Seeing none, then we will go off from the public to be heard, and now we will move into the agenda item 5A, which is the public hearing on proposed cannabis-related land development code updates.
Just a quick opening. Tonight is your public hearing on these updates. They've been recommended to you by the Planning Commission, up for your consideration. If after the public hearing tonight you would like to adopt them, that's the next business item in the agenda. If you want to make any minor changes, you can. If you'd like to make significant changes or give it further consideration, we can warn another public hearing at least 15 days out. But in terms of talking about the updates, turn it over to Wendy and probably Raj to chime in on what this proposal is.
Yeah, so it's the table that is on the website. I'm not sure if you have that, Brad, but it just shows the new zoning. It was the next one, I think. Or cannabis, there it is. Okay. So we have 3 retail districts. The retail, as recommended by the Planning Commission, would be on the arterial, so Pearl Street, the 2 retail districts, and on Pearl Street, and not in the village downtown district. The same with any wholesale establishments, medical establishments. Manufacturing tier 1 is allowed in several areas. That would be a home-based business, solo operation, and manufacturing tiers 2 and 3, as well as laboratory testing, would be in the light industrial zoning district.
Great. Thank you, Wendy. Raj, is there anything else you want to add in the introduction?
Well, just as some background, I guess, the state will be rolling out retail licenses. They've started issuing licenses. Sales can begin October 1st. The state has allowed municipalities to work with zoning, the zoning laws and the zoning process to identify areas of their communities where all of these different types of cannabis businesses may be located. I think arguably there is some confusion as to how the law was written, and some of the rules were, as a result of that, developed. But specifically, I think around language that says that cannabis operations can't be singled out. While those phrases are there, they are not exclusive of the permission for communities to, again, use 24 VSA 4414 to work within zoning to, again, define where those operations exist. So for the city, we've identified cultivation in the planned agricultural district, which on this map is sort of on the left in that light green. And as Wendy pointed out, I think that's the only thing she might not have mentioned was cultivation. This is, I think that's pretty much it. Trying to think if there's anything else.
Raj, or Wendy, of other ways that we currently zone for so that certain types of businesses aren't in certain parts of our municipality?
Right. I mean, we already do some of this. I'm trying to pull up that chart for myself so I can come up with some examples. We do this already and forgive me while I find that chart on my own screen so I can actually read it. It's just a quick, handy way to identify. The one that just popped in my head in front of me right now is animal shelter is done that way. Just about every business that we identify on these charts has an area where they are allowed and not allowed. So in that respect, we are treating cannabis in the way we treat other businesses, in the sense that we're identifying where they can be. You know, for instance, car washes are identified in the HA Highway Arterial District. Catering services are in some residential and other districts, but not others. And I'm looking for some more retail as I scroll through this. But it is something that's already done as part of our zoning process.
Yes, and the CCB has indicated that we are able to, but because we already have zoning districts for a lot of different businesses, that would be continuous with the cannabis businesses as well.
Great. Wendy, Raj, anything else, or are we ready to turn this over to the public portion?
You know, there are some interesting definitions of the different business types that are within the packet. They're very long and detailed, and I hesitate to try to read them out for this public hearing, but I encourage people who are interested to access the packet at our website and review those definitions if they're interested. Just if, you know, again, that's a source of some of the many different business types and tiers of those business types related to cannabis cultivation, manufacture, processing, and retail. I just put that in there in case people are interested. But yeah, I think we're ready to maybe take questions, comments.
Thank you, Raj. Thank you, Wendy. With this being a public hearing, the portion is the point of this is really to get public participation. If there are questions, comments, concerns about these changes to the land development code, now is the time to let us know. I'll start off with those here in the room. Anybody have any questions, comments, concerns in the room about the proposed cannabis rules for changes in the land development code? Okay. So going back to Zoom land, does anybody have any questions, comments, concerns from the public? And if so, please make sure to raise your hand. Yes, Alex. Yes, Alex, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Alex. I've spoken to a couple of you just sort of on my journey to this meeting. I have a question, and then I just have a couple comments. My first question is, so this would be related to just retail. That would be what my, I had been trying to open one in Essex Junction, obviously following this. My question is from my understanding of the many documents that I've sort of reviewed, the map that you guys have created for this includes for retail only sort of that pretty small portion of Pearl Street. Am I understanding that? Is there any other street that retail zoning will be allowed?
It is within the highway arterial district and the transit oriented districts, which does follow along Pearl Street. But those are the two districts where it would be allowed.
Okay, understood. So I guess I just want to go into my comments. I'll keep it brief. Because that was my understanding, I walked that portion, both sides of that street, in search of an open space where a retail location could go. And there is not one. And the frequency with which a space becomes available there, because it is a great place to do business. I have two other businesses. I had three. They don't come available very often. It is my understanding that there is one place already existing that is seeking a license, and that, they have that. And that's obviously perfectly fine. But from the way that it is currently, the proposed zoning, it's limiting for anybody else to come in. And, I think that that's a little bit of the antithesis to the vote that the people had voted this in, and sort of the freeness with which, I want to continue to do business in this city. This is where I got my start in business, and I love this place. And I don't see a place where I would be able to open if I got lucky. And then on top of that, there's all of the existing laws that prohibit just certain places, depending on banking and insurance, to open at all. So you're looking at just a tiny percentage of locations that do not exist yet, even being available. And there are retail locations in other parts of the city. Specifically, I would be talking about the Village Center. I understand that's a hard sell, that are open and would be available. And I just wanted it to be taken into consideration when you vote on this, that you are severely limiting, if not completely 100% limiting, anybody else from being able to open a retail establishment and to bring their business to Essex Junction. And that's really all that I wanted to say. Thank you for your time.
Alex, can we just have your last name for the record, please?
Morano, Morano.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alex.
Thank you.
Marcus, your hand is up. Go ahead.
Thank you. I may not have enough information, but just trying to understand how this has been derived. To see cannabis manufacturing, it looks like you've marked this for many areas of the city, but yet every other aspect of cannabis is highly restricted. And since I'm guessing the restrictions are about this particular product, maybe I don't understand why the manufacturing has so much freedom in comparison to other aspects of the cannabis business. I don't know, maybe if you can give me some more insight into that would be appreciated.
Yeah, I would actually turn that over to Raj Chawla, who has been doing a lot of the work behind this, and he can speak more intelligently than I.
Oh, Marcus, that's a good question. Specifically around manufacturing, the tier one, some of this has a lot to do with how the state has rolled out levels of how these businesses operate. And so with manufacturing, there's 3 tiers, and the tier that we've sort of identified to appear the most in the city is the tier 1, which is very small. I mean, that's pretty much a one person. I think it's restricted to one person, less than $10,000 in annual sales, done out of the house, like a home occupancy business, no employees. And we felt that could, I mean, for me, it was sort of a compromise. And my concern, frankly, would be we've allowed it in places with multifamily buildings. So I'm trying to wrap my head around how that will work, but we're going to try it, I think. But we figured that tier would be less impactful than, for instance, cultivation in a dense neighborhood. All of our neighborhoods are dense, as an example. The other 2 tiers of manufacturing, I think you asked about, really elevate the business level and the activity, and those we identified with other those business types and where they tend to locate, which was a light industrial district. Cultivation, we kept to an area already designated for agricultural use. Some of that is out of concern for density and the impacts of the growing that can last for a period of time throughout that growing process and the impacts they could have on neighborhoods. So I don't know if that answers all of your question. And, you know, if it didn't, please right now, just let me know so I can try to be more clear.
No, I appreciate that. Again, I think that I know that the rules on this has been confusing. I've been following what the CCB has been doing, and I get the gravity of the difficulty of this whole situation. But that being said, the areas of the city right now where you're allowing it, I understand the restrictive nature of it. There seems to be parts of this city though where, I'm going to word it my own way, so pardon me for speaking this way, but if you're looking to bury it, you can bury it to manufacturing into other manufacturing zones of the city, for instance. You can put it into these other areas that are not traditional retail corridors for the city.
I'm not sure what you mean.
Well, I'm just thinking that because I think the zone, looking at this, and again, I'm a noob, so it looks like you've primarily allowed retail zoning in retail areas that are reasonably distant, I guess, from residential and other, the best way that you possibly can. But I don't know. I guess I'm not, while the rules are difficult, I'm still, I guess I'm not I guess, is there still a balance here that the city or the planning commission has put on this in order to, and again, I'm not pro or against, this is not about that. I'm just trying to understand, I guess, the thinking behind it, about whether or not there was a restrictiveness to the placement of just these two zones for retail in comparison opening up to more areas of the city that it could potentially be.
Yeah, I'd like to share, if Brad, I don't think you have this map readily available, but can I share my screen?
Yes, 1 second.
Bear with me. Zoom's not behaving. One second.
No problem.
Well, I can't because I'd have to change a privacy setting, which means I would have to leave the meeting, but I'm gonna, Brad, in the meantime, on the Planning Commission homepage, there's a cannabis regulation map that kind of is a lot clearer and includes the school buffer zones and everything else. If you could grab that and put it up. But Marcus, I think we generally have, essentially we have 3 retail zones and a little bit more down Park Street. But we did opt for an area that has, I think, more retail space, especially with the 2 zones than is offered in the village core. When you overlay the school restrictive buffer from Summit, Fleming, and Park Street School, it really takes up a lot of the village core, not all of it, but it takes up a good portion of it, almost potentially a majority of it. I'm trying to remember, can't quite tell from this map. So we felt, I think the Planning Commission felt that the Pearl Street opportunities, and there's the There's the map. So on this map, the red shaded areas are buffers around schools where retail can't occur. Really only impacts the village core, almost impacts the first zone off Pearl Street, but doesn't quite hit it. The green, that dull green is where tier 1 manufacturing can occur, that small scale home occupancy manufacturing. The dotted green on the left-hand side of that screen around Cascade Street and the river is the planned agricultural district where cultivation is allowed. This is all proposed being allowed. And the green, the bright green are the light industrial areas where districts that we already have, where we've identified the much larger processing manufacturing operations. Medical dispensaries are also included in those Pearl Street districts. So this is a little bit of a simpler map. You can see the Two Roads Academy up on further down. Pearl Street also impacts half of that zone as well for potential retail. So I think that was the thinking behind what's being proposed here.
Thank you. That provides a lot of clarity for me. At the same time, can I ask then why, because, again, keeping in mind, I know the feel of the city, the area that you chose, has significant enough retail that, it would blend into the rest of the commerce. But there is that section of Pearl Street too, that is not restricted, that is also very retail. And I'm wondering why that may not have been included.
Which area do you mean?
Well, looking at like that map, it looks like just south of Five Corners there on Pearl Street. Sorry, Park Street, not Pearl Street. My apologies. Park Street was what I mean. That area. Why not Park Street?
I'm trying to zoom in on the other map and see the zones for that.
Yeah, so down by, the kitchen supply, the railroad tracks down in that area, there's, significant enough retail. And it would be out of the restricted area that, yeah, as a matter of fact, you have it kind of outlined there in the village center, that Park Street area down at the south end of the city.
Yeah, I'm just trying to see what, on the other map, Marcus, bear with me. I'm trying to see how those are zoned.
Yep.
That area, I believe that you're looking at, that's outside of the village center district, is residential office, not retail. I'd have to ask the planning commission to, I know George is shaking his head, but I'm looking at this zoning map designation, and that between Franklin, Iroquois, and South Street looks to be RO.
So you've got a home center over there. You got the paint and home center there. You've got some restaurants over there. You've got a couple of bars over there. Those don't count as like retail. They are counted as offices in planning.
I'm trying to remember. Those are between, I think those are actually covered in the downtown village core district, Marcus. They're on that side on the village core side of Iroquois.
Oh, okay.
So
yes, that was my understanding.
if you zoom in to whoever's controlling, Brad, that area right there, that brown area with the diagonal, that's a residential office. The red, I believe on this map with the brick, is the downtown village core district.
Yeah, and I was thinking of that area right there below that is outlined in red, that I was just looking at.
That outline is actually something we'll talk about at the full public hearing for the LDC, and that designates, those red outlines designate an expansion of design review and historic preservation review for further development. So that's,
gotcha.
it could be confusing some of this conversation, but the yellow on that map residential 2 and in that area, and the area above that yellow highlighted in that outline is actually residential office. So,
Okay.
so I get what you're saying, but I think the area you're discussing around those 2 sets of tracks and those businesses that I think we're both thinking of are in the Village Center District.
Gotcha. Okay. That's great. Thank you for that clarity.
Sure.
Thank you, Raj. All right, I'm not seeing any other hands up in Zoom world. So last call. Mariah, go right ahead.
Hi, sorry, I just wanted to say thank you for, it's clear that you spent a lot of time really thinking about this and how to make this work and what the impact might be. And I appreciate all the effort that went into that. It makes sense to me kind of how this has, where you've landed. I just had some questions and I didn't see anything in the stuff I've read about, was there any discussion or additional zoning considerations around, like it's clearly plotted out what areas of the city will be allowed for retail, but has there been discussion about density in general in that area, thinking about, you know, how many retailers can be within feet of another retailer that sells cannabis? And then also, you know, the state regulations of 500 feet from a school are kind of in terms of impact on kids, the kind of the least that we can do. And so was there any consideration of expanding that to farther away from schools to help increase that prevention piece that we hope for?
Again, go ahead, Raj.
Yeah, Mariah, thanks for that. We're not allowed to expand that buffer by law as much as we'd like to, I think. You know, this has been very difficult to wrap our heads around. You know, we're still very much a walking district. We have a lot of schools surrounding a very dense area and a lot of dense housing. So that you're right, a lot of thought went into this. We're also not, I don't believe we're allowed to identify density. But again, that I'm not sure we're 100% on that. And it's something that I'm going to continue to work on, to be honest. You know, I think the marketplace for the time being is going to take care of density. And that was a part of the discussion. What can and can't we do? What are we interested in doing? What are we not interested in doing? But mostly it was, this was an exercise in what's possible. And I'm going to be honest, it's not been a very clear process. The state, the law isn't well, I'm just going to leave it there. Density did come up. We're going to keep an eye on that and keep an eye on what we're able to do in the next legislative session and see if there are any adjustments made based on feedback from communities like ours. How's that?
Great, thank you. I think you're right that, but you know, as you know, I connect with a lot of towns and there's varying degrees of agreement around what you can do. And a lot of people are disagreeing about what we can and can't do. So I'll be interested to see how it all shakes out.
You know, and thanks on that note, you know, because I know based on comments tonight, we do have confidence from our city attorney and from the attorney from the Cannabis Control Board that what we are doing is within the scope of what we're allowed to do under the new regulations and under zoning law. So I just wanted to put that out there. We have checked and verified that aspect of it.
Yeah, and there are things that are still, that weren't really considered at the municipal level. I know that we have concerns about any sort of stormwater runoff, and also municipal wastewater is potentially going to be impacted. And we don't know exactly how, if pre-treatment is going to be needed for different businesses. So there's going to be a lot of other things I think that will come out of this launching year.
Thank you, Raj. Thank you, Wendy. So I'm not seeing any of your hands up on Zoom. So we will go ahead and we will close the public hearing on proposed cannabis related land development code updates, which will bring us into business item 6A, and that is to consider the approval of the proposed cannabis related land development code updates.
Yeah, Andrew, I think, go ahead.
You take it, Brad.
You're good. I think we already talked about the options. So they're out there for you guys to accept or amend or make significant changes and rewarn a future public hearing.
Thank you, Brad. Based on the conversation, I for one would be happy to go forward with the recommended motion A of approving or adopting as was presented to us.
Is that your motion?
That's not the motion. I was just starting the conversation off. If anybody felt differently, please chime in.
No, I agree.
If anybody so felt too, you can make that motion.
I move that trustee or the city council approve the recommendations and adopt the recommendation motion here as A. I move that we adopt the proposed cannabis related land development code updates as presented.
Thank you, second. Thank you, George. Councilors, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say nay. Great. That's passed unanimously. Thank you all. Raj, Woody, thank you for the work on this, the research on this, greatly appreciated. And now maybe something a little more lighthearted and fun. How about we go into some resolutions for Maddie and Joyce?
Yeah, I think Chelsea's there. If Chelsea wants to say a brief word, but then I think the resolutions speak for themselves.
Should I get closer?
Come on up, Chelsea.
Okay. The resolution really speaks for themselves, but Joyce and Maddie are no longer retiring from being administrative support for wastewater and public works, and they dedicated a lot of time, many years, to the facility and public works as well as the village/city, and so we felt that they should be recognized. We did have a wonderful barbecue in June for them, but I also wanted to formally recognize them for all their service. So
Absolutely.
and we've already missed them, but
So which of the counselors would like to draw the straw and read what we have here?
I'd be happy to read. Which one should I read?
Why don't we start off?
I'll start with Maddie's first. Whereas Mrs. Barry. Okay. Whereas Mrs. Barry has served as part-time seasonal administrative assistant for the wastewater treatment plant facility, Public Works since 2007. Whereas 15 years of employment for the Village of Essex Junction, as well as a prior career at IBM, Mrs. Barry is taking a well-deserved full retirement. And whereas Mrs. Barry's sense of humor, attention to detail, and hard work will be greatly missed. And whereas Mrs. Barry lives and raised her family in Essex Junction, she and her late husband were deeply involved with the Essex Junction Fire Department and volunteered there for 34 years, and that's particularly awesome. And whereas the staff in the Village of Essex Junction cannot thank Mrs. Barry enough for her hard work and dedication over the past 34 years, both as an employee and as a volunteer. Now, therefore, be it resolved on this day, Wednesday, September 14th, 2022, the Essex Junction City Council expresses its appreciation to Maddie Barry for your many years of service to the city of Essex Junction. We thank you for your time and service to our community.
get your signed copy.
George, since you did such a wonderful job on that one, do you also want to read the next one?
Certainly. With my great pleasure to read this. whereas Mrs. Standard served as the Village of Essex Junction Administrative Assistant to the Municipal Manager from 1985 to 2003, and I was here for some of those years, before beginning at the Wastewater Treatment Facility Public Works Department in 2004 as a part-time seasonal administrative assistant, and whereas after 37 years of employment for the Village of Essex Junction, Mrs. Standard is taking a well-deserved full retirement, and whereas Mrs. Standard's historical knowledge, attention to detail, networking, and organization will be greatly missed, whereas Mrs. Standard lives and raised her family in Essex Junction. She is a passionate pickleball player and was instrumental to the installment of permanent pickleball courts in Essex Junction. I remember that. And whereas the staff in the Village of Essex Junction cannot thank Mrs. Standard enough for her hard work and dedication over the past 37 years, both as an employee and as an engaged citizen. Now, therefore, be it resolved, on this day, Wednesday, September 14th, 2022, the Essex Junction City Council expresses its appreciation to Joyce Standard for her many years of service to the city of Essex Junction. We thank you for your time and your service to our community.
Thank you.
So I for one, just can't even quite articulate how appreciative personally I am that the two of you spent as much time as you have in this community, making sure that we all are able to take care of the things that we need to, and that our municipality has been able to thrive as well as it has over these decades. I personally greatly appreciate that, so thank you both.
And I'll say, if you don't mind, you know, you're leaving, but your heart and soul will continue on here. You've accomplished so much. So thank you so much. It'll be, you're part of the fiber of the whole organization.
Yep.
So with that, I would go ahead and I would move that the city council approve the following resolutions of appreciation to Matty Berry and Joyce Standard as were read previously.
I'll second.
Thank you, George. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say nay. Too bad. That's unanimously. Thank you all. Again, sincere thank you.
It's official.
It's very, yes, it is official. Chelsea, for those of us that are here, do you want us to sign those?
Oh.
Or do you want to do it digitally?
I don't have a color book for Joyce, I printed it in the black and white. Oh.
And we can get the other signed by Roger. And so while we're doing that, we can move into the business item of 6C into interview and consider an appointment to the Bike Walk Advisory Committee with Eric Bowker. Eric, hi.
Hi.
You want to come on
Do you
up?
want me to be closer to the microphone?
Yeah, I'd appreciate it.
Sure. I don't have a speech prepared, so.
No speech is required.
Good.
Said what, 10 years term.
So, Eric, appreciate you being here. Appreciate your patience and waiting to get to this portion. You spoke a little bit in the application as to your experience so far. Thank you as a new one of the founding members. Really appreciate that continuity, your perspective. You talked a little bit about why you're looking to continue to be reappointed. So you still mind?
No.
expanding a little bit?
I honestly don't remember when it started. Raj probably can, because he was also one of the original members. 10 years maybe, Raj? I think.
Probably. Sounds about right.
Yeah, it might be a little more. So we'll say 10 years. I'm the only one left from the original creation team, if you will, that's still on the organization. As someone who served on a few boards in my time, I think it's really important to have a mix of longer standing members and newer members to try and keep that mix. I also think it's important to always make use of what I like to call institutional knowledge, which seems to be waning somehow in this world, but call me old fashioned, but I think there's something to be said for that.
Yes.
And so that's part of the reason why I keep staying on this thing, because I think it's really important for the continuity of it to keep some of that institutional knowledge before it all goes away. So in some ways, I'd like to be the keeper of what we've done. Even though I can't remember it all. So I think that's really important. And then personally, the reasons why I joined the organization still exist with me. 14 years ago, I moved to Essex Junction from the town. Not by accident. A large reason why I did was because of the walkability. I thought it was a great concept that kids could walk to school. And my kids, I have one a sophomore in high school and a daughter who's an 8th grader at ADL, and they would walk to ride their bikes since they went preschool by design. That was the reason why I moved here. And that was a large part of why I joined the organization. Additionally, I'm a physical education teacher in the town. Passionate about walking and biking. I'm actually currently working with my students with the local motion bike smart trailer. I'm the only teacher in the district that does this right now. It's hard work. There's easier things I could do with the kids, but that just speaks to the passion. So I think that kind of describes where I'm coming from with that. But then on my walk over here, I was kind of reflecting on things that we've done. And one of the big goals that we had of the organization was to get recognition to be a walkable community. The organization at the time had an application process. I think we're still currently at silver status for recognition for walk bike community. I think that I don't know, maybe a 5-year thing. I think we initially got recognition, and then we're able to the flashy weekends around the village are all largely attributed to work. Trying to figure out where those are needed and then making those happen. So and now with the bypass coming in, really want to make sure that this score here keeps some walkability, bikeability. So yeah. That's from coming.
Appreciate it, Eric. Thank you.
Too stubborn, even if they might want to kick me off the committee. They keep coming down, just kidding. So yeah.
Great. Councilors, any other questions?
No, I'm just going to say again, and I think we really appreciate the continuity. It really is important to keep that thread going. And number two, you really have had an impact. It's a small committee, but you've had a really big impact. What things were like before the committee got started, and the slow, gradual, but really good changes you brought about. So it's all been really worthwhile and much appreciated. You really helped improve the safety and walkability and rideability.
Yeah, it was really cool. I had met Miss Standard a couple times actually, spent with her son, and she found out while I was sitting here that I was on the bike walk committee. That was why I was here. She's like, I got something for you. So she pulled me aside and actually told me about a section of sidewalk that she's hoping to get repaired, which is like the perfect thing. And just tell me about it, and I'll bring it up on our next meeting. So that kind of thing. So really cool.
That's great.
No, I just, I agree with all the comments, made so far, but I didn't recall we were on the recognizing council.
I missed that committee, actually. I know Brad's listening.
Yeah.
All right.
Eric, is there anything we can help you and the committee with? Anything we can do for you all to keep the work going?
No, I think we're now currently just back to a reasonable number of people and a good working group where I think we can. I think for the last two or 3 years we've been spinning our wheels just a little bit. There's been a lot of turnover to add to the challenge of what we're doing, and I think we just now getting back to a place where we can start really digging in again and trying to look at what we would like to accomplish and then figuring out how to do that. Again, it seems like we had a little lull in there. I'm attributing to turnover a little bit. It was a bit of a challenge for quite a while. Just having a forum and our meetings was a little challenging. I get it. It's a tough kind of thing. I think we're at the point now. We have a couple of new additions and some new energy, so I think we can
Okay,
start.
great.
But we'll keep you posted. And some really cool, exciting things are happening now around here that I think can. I think it's important to work collectively. So it's really hard when you're your head's down and you're digging in on the project to think about the other players involved. But I think in terms of the growth of the right around here, if we can always keep the bike walk piece of it in the back of our minds and figure out how like what you guys are working on. Think about how we can help you and vice versa like that.
We'll be in touch.
Okay, good. Thanks. I'm good. Sure.
Andrew, I was just going to add, we've been trying to bring some stronger staff supports to committees, and Mark Brislin, the assistant director at EJRP, is now the staff liaison with Bike Walk. Mark is an avid mountain biker, former triathlon kind of guy. So he not only brings a professional presence to that committee, but also an interest. And also Rick Jones is now providing as the staff liaison with the Tree Advisory Committee. So we're trying to get those committees a little bit better access to the administration and municipal government and employees.
Great. Appreciate that, Brad. And I would entertain the motion to appoint Eric.
So moved.
If you don't mind, just
Well,
I can do it. I've got it right here. I move that we appoint Eric Bowker to a 3-year term, July 1st, 2022 to June 30th, 2025 on the Bike Walk Advisory Committee.
second.
Thank you, Raj. Thank you, Dan. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say nay. Pass unanimously again. Thank you all. And Eric, appreciate your continued commitment to the community. Next we have business item 6D and a discussion on the website redesign.
Yes, and Ashley is here as well as Paul from EcoPixel. As you know, you previously authorized for the website redesign to begin, and they've started that process and are here just to provide you with an update as to the early stages of the process, just to make sure you're aware of where we're headed and don't have any major critical feedback. But this is certainly an opportunity to weigh in, ask questions, and provide any feedback for their further development. Ashley?
Thanks, Brad. As Brad said, Paul is here with me now. We have been working on this website since I started back in May. This is the first design of the homepage, so you're only going to be seeing the homepage tonight. We will be working on the rest of the website once we get the approval of this first design from you guys. We hope to have the completed website by November. This design that we're showing you today, like I said, is just the homepage, and we showed this earlier to the department heads and got some great feedback from the department heads earlier on. We will also be providing a survey link tonight on our website and on our social media page that'll pop up after our meeting tonight. And we really want to get some feedback from the community just on this initial design as well, and some of their interactions with our current website. So I am going to attempt to share my screen. Okay. And tonight, I'm just going to scroll through this, and Paul is going to go through the different areas of the new homepage. And if you guys have any questions, please feel free to chime in, and we will go from there.
Can I get a question right before you go any further?
Sure.
This picture right here, who was the author of this picture? Because I know who the author of this picture is. You know who it is? It's the chair of the Essex Town Select Board, Andy Watts. He took this while he was riding a balloon over 5 corners. I'm sure Andy would be delighted to see his photography on the front page of the Essex Junction city webpage. Might want to clear one first.
Yes. No, right now, this is just a temporary placeholder. We wanted to show what it would look like with a great photography photo. That's something that I will be looking forward to getting either some community photos to put on our homepage or hiring a photographer to take some great photos. Really, those aerial shot is what we're looking for. And Paul, you can kind of go in a little bit more. That'll be a great starting point for us.
Sure. Thanks, Ashley. So I'm the lead web designer and web developer at EcoPixel. And as Ashley said, we've been working together for a while on this. That question, yeah, some of the content we're going to see on this page are pretty realistic. And some of it is just there to indicate what could be there that's the real content. And the photo is a great example of that. Starting at the top of the page here, we've made a few changes to the overall navigation of the website, mainly to highlight that we have a lot of initiatives, which Ashley is heading up, as well as a new community section that pulls some content that's been elsewhere and some content that we're going to ask about in our survey that we're going to put out. And then there will be a photo, not necessarily this photo, but an aerial photo or some other photos that represent our community. And I think ideally they'd be seasonal at least, so that we show the changing scenes here in the city. Scroll down a little bit. So this next section with the 4 icons, we wanted to accomplish a couple of things. One is to quickly orient people and guide people into the major content areas of the website, and also to provide a kind of unified portal into the Recreation and Parks section, as well as over to the Brownell Library, which has its own website. So we didn't use their icons, their logos here, because we wanted those sections to be a part of the whole. So it all goes together. And here you can see we're also starting to establish a pretty lively and colorful color scheme. Just below the icons, we've got our kind of existing tagline that we're the only Essex Junction in the world, which I think is a little tongue-in-cheek, but it's also true. And again, this is text, it can easily change. We've got some brief description for visitors, new residents, I guess even, hey, what's Essex Junction all about in a nutshell? Scroll down a little more. In this part of the homepage, we're highlighting recent news as well as ongoing initiatives. So it could be job openings, road work, big things that people need to know about. And we've had a news section on the existing website since it launched. And I think it's important that it be easy to get what's going on, the big things I need to be aware of in the community. One more. All right. Now to your section on the City Council, we've got a box highlighting the upcoming agendas, as well as about 3 recent meetings. We assume that those are the ones people are most likely to want to get the minutes for. But there's a button as well to take them to a redesigned City Council page that will be a dashboard to everything that you do. And then the other half of this, or 2/3 of this section, list all of the upcoming meetings that we have. And so clicking on any of these would take you to that meeting. You could add it to your calendar, or if it's close enough, there would be an agenda there. All right, this is some of those other things we've looked at have some are been in the current website in some form, but this is a new section, which is to highlight big events and major things that are happening across our community and in the various like library and recreation and parks, and to really create visibility for those on the homepage. Several years ago, we did have a community calendar in the website, but it was very comprehensive and quite hard to maintain. This is slimmed down and really focused on major events that we're going to have. And then the footer of the website is just kind of a colorful approach to our take on our logo, and quick links to Facebook and SeeClickFix and the major sections of the website, as well as an all contacts button so that people just need a phone number, need an email address, they can get right there. All right, now we can go back up to the top and look at the last thing that we've got to show you tonight, which is quick answers. And click on that, yep. So this will be a really quick way to answer the most current and common questions that are going on that Ashley and others are hearing. Like currently a real hot topic is, do I live in the city or not? Or why am I paying town taxes still? So Ashley will be able to change this list, change it based on season, like why isn't my street plowed yet, or other questions that come up. And if there are more questions, of course, they can go to the more answers button and see the full list. But I thought it was really important that people get these quick answers right from any page of the website. So that's an overview. Any questions so far? You can also take, are we taking questions in the chat or just verbally?
Just verbally.
Okay.
So that's the website in a nutshell. Really what we're asking from you guys, if you had any feedback, to provide that feedback to us. And also we want to basically get the green light to move forward with this design so that we can start designing the rest of the website, the pages and all of the different parts of the website and all that it entails. We do have a raised hand from Marcus.
Before we jump into public comments, just
yes.
quick question comment from me. We'll go around the board real quick, and then we'll go off to public comment. I really appreciate that you've kept the connect with the council, as well as paring down that the community calendar from what it used to be to something that seems like it might be more manageable. As I got from the feedback I heard is that got a little crazy kind of quick. The quick answer seems very interesting. The thing that I don't have a concern on, I just want to make sure of if that's the back end, the ability to update these things. Is that system still going to be relatively simple and easy for you to use, so that way we can just as staff update things as necessary when necessary.
Everything will be editable, and really editing will be optimized around whatever it is. So it'll be very easy. Just basically paragraphs of text is what the quick answers will be to edit. But in the front end, it will have that nice look to it that's easy to browse.
Great. Go ahead, Raj.
I think it looks nice. I think it's a great start. So thanks for presenting that. Some things when thinking about the website, some things that I think about are curiosity about the ability to search. It's one thing to find minutes and find agendas from past meetings, but if you have no idea where the topic was discussed in the past 18 months, clicking through 26 to 30 different agendas. So will there be the ability to use search to dig into the database of PDFs and everything else that's in the back end of this. And I think the only other question, the quick answers I like a lot. If some of these sections, especially around, I'm thinking ordinance and codes and potentially departments, if there could be a way to kind of think about, yeah, okay, the ordinance is there and the codes are there, but people just don't know where to start if they want to build an addition. Do they need a permit for whatever? Do they, there are all those, this stuff has always been out there, but if you look in neighborhood forums and you look in other places, people still are asking their neighbors, where do I go for this? And so if there's any kind of way to, once you get there, to think about sort of what you're doing with the quick answers, but almost on a sectional level. Ordinances and codes. Why would I go into the ordinances? Why would I go into some of the bylaw areas? Why would I look at the zoning or zoning page? Almost little descriptions about what's here and why they might be here. Do you know what I'm saying? Because I think unless you're really familiar with a lot of this stuff, it's a little foreign and not very user friendly for the rest of us. So but overall, I think it looks good.
And I will say part of that is kind of this section right here with the community, the work, the parks, and then the recreation. Our thoughts around that is kind of once they click on that, they have some kind of pull out sections, whether that's, talking about living or visiting in our city. And so that's kind of our ideas around that. And so that's something we're still fleshing out. So thank you for that feedback. It's something that we know that we can move forward with that.
And George, Amber?
I'm good. It looks very nice.
I agree. Looks good.
It's not cookie cutter and it's different, but it's still very well put together.
I think it's like George said, I think I like the layout. I like it's easy to serve. I think just looking at that type of a layout, I think you can put a lot of stuff onto a web page, and then it becomes confusing and just very, very difficult to surf through. Just you're overwhelmed. I like that simplicity, but very, very nice.
All right. So then why don't we go into other public comments? And Marcus, your hand's been up. Thank you for waiting.
It's Elise Serta sneaking in under Marcus's. Hi, everyone, and hello, Ashley. We had an exchange earlier for the district. So I wanted to ask, what is the best way to submit feedback about it? And the only reason I'm poking my nose in here is that the district right now, Chittenden Solid Waste District, is redoing our website too, and we've got lots of data that might be helpful to our site. Like for instance, 50% of the people viewing our site are on mobile. So I'm really going to be curious about how our site responds on mobile. And the first thing that I would say about our site, because I've used it, I've helped other people use it, is this is a doing site. People want to come here and do. They don't want to hunt and peck for information. They want to do, and we need to help them do that quickly. And the only thing that I've learned that I would just offer, and Ashley, I'm happy, however you would like feedback, or little or a lot, the hero image that you have here, which is a lovely picture of 5 corners, see my pandering to Raj, is that it takes up a lot of real estate. And while I really love beautiful pictures, if we think about that people want to come to the site and do, I want to find out, we're building a fence. Do I have to get permits for that? Making sure people can get to the do part of the site as quickly as possible. I totally agree with Raj, is making searchable PDFs and things like that are really important, because people want to come. The average person on our site who's coming to find out how to dispose of something spends less than a minute and a half. So that's just something to keep in mind when you're building our site. It's really about the doing. Thanks.
Great, thank you. And yes, if you'd like to provide feedback on our survey, you're more than welcome to do that. There is a section on there to provide other feedback other than the questions that we are asking. So we'll be happy to get that feedback from you, or if you want to shoot me an email, I'm happy to take that feedback as well. We will, like I said, post that survey right after this meeting on our website and on our social media page.
Oh, I wanted to comment on a couple things here. Certainly the photo, this is a static mock-up, so the photo doesn't change size, but on different screen sizes, it will take up more or less space depending on how much space is available. So we're really careful not to make photos like this so big that they overwhelm the rest of the site or the homepage. And I know sites do that, and I don't like it either. I'm a designer, but I also care a lot about function. And in terms of the search, there've been a couple comments about search. This search will be, you'll be able to do a search, but drill down by category. So if you're really a city council document, you can really get at that quite quickly. And then there was a comment about being mobile friendly. Quite a bit more than half of the visitors to this website are using a mobile device, a small screen. And so after we've established this overall look and feel, we'll be creating an optimized layout for mobile devices. This is a fully responsive, accessible design. And we start with the desktop because it kind of shows everything that we're going to have on there. But if you can think of the page being like bricks, like building blocks, we're going to take those bricks that are horizontal here and start stacking them up in different ways on mobile. So for example, the news articles will be stacked vertically and the size of the photos will be a little bit different, that kind of thing. So we care a lot about mobile friendly. Sure. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Paul. I'm not seeing any other questions. Appreciate the preview.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you both.
Actually, before you leave, if you haven't left yet, what would a time frame be in terms of the thoughts of the survey closing and then when the final website will go live?
So we are asking surveys to be completed by October 1st. So that gives people a few weeks to fill out the survey. We'll send out some reminders throughout the couple weeks, just reminding people about that survey. And then we're hoping to have a live website sometime in November.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. Actually, appreciate all the hard work on this.
No problem. Thank you.
And the next conversations are going to happen in executive session. So we will go into the consent agenda.
Move we approve the consent agenda.
Thank you, Raj.
Second.
Thank you, Dan. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say nay. Great. Passed unanimously. Thank you all. And going into the reading file and board member comments. We got quite a few things in the reading file. Appreciate the update on the present connector. It's always good to see progress continuing to happen with that. Looking forward to having that be built in the upcoming construction season. The only other comment that I had, I just wanted to take a brief moment and recognize that today is our last meeting with Brad and Wendy as our interim co-managers. Regina Mahoney starts tomorrow, and just really want to take a brief moment. And Brad, Wendy, I just want to thank you for taking on the additional responsibilities that you took on. You've been able to help make sure that our municipality continues to function, that we as a board are able to continue to meet and do the business that needs to be done. In addition, I think one of the things we talked about was no new initiatives, and then we had initiative after initiative after initiative. So really appreciate you both rolling with the punches as they are, and really helping to see this community through. Your dedication to the community is certainly recognized. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Andrew. Yeah, we appreciate it. You know, we're happy to serve and fill in and happy for Regina to start. But it's, you know, we've talked a little bit of overtime. Certainly, you all make the job easy here. You're a very easy progressive board to work with and very efficient. So it really made it easy on us to step in and help out when needed. So thanks for that.
Yes, it's been really great working with all you, and it's been great working with Brad. So I think, but yeah, I'm looking forward to having a library focus again.
Great. Any other board member comments? Any other comments from staff? All right. So seeing none. They're on screen. I would go ahead, I would make the motion that we go into executive session to discuss negotiating or securing real estate purchase or lease options under the provision of Title I, Section 313A2 Vermont statutes, and to include the interim co-managers. And I would further move that we go into executive session to discuss documents that are exempt from the public records law under the provisions of Title I, Section 313A6 Vermont statutes.
Second. I'm sorry.
Raj.
Whoever is taking the minutes, you can decide between George or Raj. Put off the stopwatch to see who got there first. So all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say nay. Great, so passed unanimously. Thank you. We will go ahead and head into the other room. We are going to end up coming to make a decision. It may take a while for you two. If you want to stick around, feel free. You don't have to. That's totally within your control, but we will head out and come back. It might be a half hour, it might be an hour, it might be 2 hours. But thank you all.